Yu-Gi-Oh cards are just made up, right? Wrong! There are actually Yu-Gi-Oh cards based on real events. Some of those cards have fascinating, but also brutal connections to real life. And that's exactly why we are looking at 5 of them today. Dark Magician. Let's start with the OG card of all time. You're thinking of Solomon? Nope, of course it's the fearless Dark Magician. Though in real life, the magicians of ancient Egypt didn't quite have the same style as our purple-robed brother. Instead, they had way more responsibilities than just nuking everyone with a dark magic attack. Unless, of course, you get summoned and suddenly find yourself facing a blue-eyed white dragon. I summoned the Dark Magician in attack position! Here we go! Who shall I send to the Shadow Realm this time with my dark magic attack? Go, Dark Magician! Cast a spell! Yeah, I'll cast you 2 black eyes instead. The real magicians of ancient Egypt apparently just did ordinary tasks, like teaching others, writing texts, making medicine, and breeding animals like cats, ibises, and crocodiles. But, of course, everyone knew that any of these tasks could be used in a very different way. Since they were high up in the hierarchy, they looked down on the common folk. Sometimes their writing wasn't just for education, but it went straight into the death note to curse someone. That medicine could easily turn into poison. And those animals were bred because they represented their gods. Hold on, the last part sounds way too normal. They were, of course, only bred to be mummified and sacrificed to the gods. Just for ibises alone, over 4 million have been found. And cats, they were mummified even more often because many owners wanted to take them into the afterlife. Master Kaio can definitely relate to that with his homie Bubbles. And speaking of mummification, that was, of course, also a part of their job. A task that would probably make a lot of people puke, me included. I mean, pulling a brain out with the nose can't be a pleasant sight. But because they were so important in guiding souls into the afterlife, they weren't buried alongside the pharaoh like the other servants of the early dynasties. Imagine you just got hired as a palm leaf wafer. And then, boom! Your boss suddenly dies and now you have to join him to his long journey into the afterlife. That sucks, to be honest. Sometimes hundreds of servants were killed and buried alongside the pharaoh. But not the magicians or priests. They had to stay alive, casting spells to make sure the transfer into the afterlife went smoothly, and to keep providing protection even after death. There were even a few human sacrifices here and there to make a woman fertile again. You know, just the little things that add some variety to the workday. And then there's the weighing of the heart. Some might think I'm talking about my cooking again, but no, it's just Osiris deciding whether you get into the afterlife. So basically the Egyptian version of King Yanma. And to prepare for this, the magicians created personalized books of the dead for each person. And the more you could pay, the more detailed and helpful your book was when it came to answering Osiris's tricky questions. Unless, of course, you messed up so badly in life that your sins overweighed the feather of Ma'at. In that case, you wouldn't be meeting Osiris at all, but instead Amit, the devourer of souls. And you seriously think that this son of a witch would intimidate me? With the power of friendship, anything is possible. Bro, I'm as good as that. And with this spell card, 1000 Needles. That's my pharaoh! Silver Sentinel. Many are probably wondering what kind of card that even is. But that's a good thing, because just like this card flies under the radar, so does its real-life inspiration. Some might think of Yasop or Van Ogre, and honestly, they wouldn't be too far off. Because Silver Sentinel is actually based on none other than the Finnish sniper Simo Häyhä, also known as the White Death. If there were ever a real-life anime guy, it would probably be this guy. This motherfucker was probably actually born on Sniper Island and is the real guy behind Sogeking's mask. During the Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union, he was very, let's say, successful in what he was doing. In just 100 days on the front, he took out over 500 enemy soldiers with his sniper rifle and another 200 or so with his submachine gun. Which, yeah, is pretty messed up because war is messed up. But in that situation, it was either them or him. He shot without a scope to avoid giving away his position with sun glare. And also that he wouldn't have to lift his head as much. But yeah, in the end he got hit hard and that must have hurt like hell. But in true anime protagonist fashion, he probably dropped the most badass real-life one-liner ever. When asked what he felt while taking out Soviet soldiers, his only response was the recoil. Blood Mefist. You know, I'm not a really big fan of synchros. And there's no way I would drop 3,000 euro on this card. Yo, never in my life. Although the character this card is based on is actually pretty interesting. After all, we are talking about Mephistopheles from Goethe's Faust. The effect perfectly reflects his character. 300 damage for every card the opponent controls and another 300 for every spell or trap they activate. In Goethe's story, Mephisto is also a smart-ass trickster who causes absolute chaos just for his own amusement. A few examples. In exchange for Faust's soul, Mephisto grants him knowledge, power and, of course, women. Faust could escape the deal if he ever found true satisfaction. But the old demon knows that the human is never truly satisfied. So he leads Faust from one disaster to the next. He tempts Faust into seducing Gretchen, which ends up ruining everything for her. Her brother gets sent on an express trip to the afterlife. Her mother follows shortly after, thanks to a fatal overdose of sleeping medicine. And in the end, Gretchen herself ends up in Impeldown. So Mephisto is basically the archetype of the charming and humorous villain, just like Crowley, my man Bruzzlebeard, or Johann Liebert. Saint Joanne. That brings back memories from the deepest corners of my mind. Not only did this card make an appearance with the Big Five, but it was also a dual opponent in YuGiOh World Championship 2008. For some reason, they decided to base this on a real person, and none other than Jeanne d'Arc, also known as Saint Joanne. Joanne was so convinced that she had to free France from English rulership that she believed that God himself had ordered her to lead the French army. She even managed to convince Charles VII with a prophecy that he would be crowned King of France in Reims. At first the French generals were minimal skeptical, because, well, she was a teenage girl in an armor talking about divine voices. But then she went to war, absolutely wrecked the English and became a legend of her time. Not only that, but her prophecy actually came true and Charles VII was crowned in Reims. So the king must have loved her for that, right? Well, almost. After failing to capture Paris as well, this dishonorable bastard just sold her out and she ended up burned at the stake by the English. A few hundred years later, people started to realize they might have made a little mistake. So in the 20th century, Pope Benedict XV officially declared her a saint. Exodia. The monster card, so powerful that they had to split it into 5. So powerful that Weevil created that scene that made him the true main antagonist. But honestly, that just made YuGiOh exciting. Otherwise, Yugi's draw cheat would have just pulled Exodia every time and ended the duel on the spot. The physical symbol of the power of friendship isn't just a legendary guardian deity, it's actually based on an ancient Egyptian god, Osiris. Yeah, that role was later given to Slifer, or Osiris, but when Exodia was created, the 3 Egyptian god cards weren't even a thing yet. The division of Exodia into 5 pieces is actually a reference to the dismemberment of Osiris. His jealous brother Seth killed him and chopped him into 14 pieces, and then scattered him all around Egypt. But his wife, Isis, wasn't having any of that. With Anubis' help, she managed to find almost all of him. Except for one very important part, his phallus. Ah well, how important can it be? So it's his dick. Oh no! But Isis just magicked it back into existence, got pregnant with Horus, and later Horus grew up to beat the crap out of Seth and claim the throne. Happy ending. And there you have it, 5 cards with some very interesting backgrounds. Are there more cards like this? Absolutely. Especially when it comes to Japanese mythology. But I would say these were the 5 most interesting ones. And if this video got you hyped up for more Yu-Gi-Oh content, then you have to click here. Otherwise you can also click here. But that's it again for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see us next time, so take care my friends.